General Hospital spoilers tease that Jason is increasingly torn as he watches Carly continue to enter into a relationship that he believes will lead to tragedy. Since his return to Port Charles, Jason has not only had to confront a painful past but also accept a new reality. Carly is changing, and not in the way he hoped. He once hoped that after everything they had been through, Carly would be more cautious, more aware of who to trust and who to avoid. But all of Jason's warnings seem to fall on deaf ears. Carly, the woman who always lives by her emotions, is once again letting those emotions lead her into dangerous territory. What makes Jason especially worried is that the recent crazy events are no longer just isolated incidents. They're starting to connect into a dangerous chain, with the focal point being Brennan, the man Carly is desperately trying to protect with all her trust. Jason tried to convince himself that maybe Brennan was just a temporary mistake, a moment of weakness for Carly after her losses. But day by day, he realizes that this isn't just a simple mistake, this is a toxic relationship, where Carly is risking everything for someone who doesn't deserve it. One of the recent shocks that has kept Jason from sitting idly by is that Brennan is trying to approach Jocelyn with a tempting new job at WSB, an organization once believed to have turned its back on morality. Jason knows full well that when Brennan wants to pull someone into his world, he will stop at nothing. This realization makes Jason see that Carly is not only putting herself in danger, but she's also unknowingly dragging her daughter into a dark maze, where the truth is distorted and sweet promises are just a facade for deeper schemes. Jason has tried to be patient. He's gently advised Carly, shared the potential dangers she's facing. But when Carly remains blind, still thinking she can control Brennan and everything around her, Jason knows he needs to be stronger. He's not just fighting a dangerous man, but also fighting the stubborn heart of the woman he's always protected. Carly thinks she knows Brennan, that their relationship is a deep connection that's hard to break. But Jason sees what she doesn't, the subtle manipulation, the masks Brennan wears, and the price Carly will pay if she doesn't escape soon. The pressure on Jason is growing. He can't stand by and watch Carly fall into the abyss. A part of him wants to give up, to let her face the consequences herself. But the other part, the loyal, protective, and loving side, won't let him do that. He knows that once Brennan reveals his true self, everything will collapse quickly. And by then, Carly will need him. But will it be too late? Jason understands that this isn't just about the messy relationship between Carly and Brennan. It's a series of crazy events, developing into an unstoppable storm. And if Carly doesn't listen, if she continues to place her trust in the wrong places, the next shock won't just hurt her, it could ruin her life. Jason is entering one of the toughest battles he's ever faced, not against enemies with guns or power, but against the blindness of the woman he's always placed first in his heart. Since Carly started her relationship with Brennan, Jason has seen the warning signs. With his sharp instincts and experience in the underground world of crime, Jason knows that Brennan is not someone Carly should trust. But Carly looks at Brennan through the eyes of someone trying to start over, looking for a place of comfort after prolonged loss and pain. And that very vulnerability is making it easy for her to fall into the sweet trap that Brennan has carefully set. Jason doesn't blame Carly for wanting to be loved and cared for, but he can't turn a blind eye when what's happening around her is rapidly crossing safety boundaries. He's witnessed firsthand the consequences of Carly trusting the wrong people. Almost dying from poisoned champagne, getting involved in dangerous games without even realizing it. Jason doesn't believe in coincidences, and he knows this is just the beginning. What seemed like isolated events are starting to connect, and the focus is still Brennan. A man who looks trustworthy on the outside, but inside is a web of calculation, lies, and manipulation. One of the latest shocks that has deepened Jason's concern is discovering that Brennan is trying to approach Jocelyn through a special recruitment program at WSB. Jason feels this is not only a threat to Carly but also a direct intrusion into her family, into the people she loves and is always trying to protect. In Jason's eyes, Brennan is no longer just Carly's new lover, he has become a real danger that could cause her life and the lives of those around her to collapse. Carly, on the other hand, still refuses to listen. She believes Jason is jealous, that he doesn't want her to have a new happiness. She thinks Jason is imposing, trying to control her life like he did in the past. But Jason is no longer that man. He doesn't want to keep Carly by his side at any cost. He just wants to protect her, in the right way. But Carly's stubbornness, her blind trust in Brennan, is slowly pushing them both into confrontation. Jason feels he's caught between two fires, his emotions and his reasoning. He loves Carly, but he can't let her destroy herself without doing something. When Jason gets proof that Brennan is involved in a covert operation with WSB, tied to shady activities and information manipulation, he realizes he can't wait any longer. This shock forces Jason to take urgent action because he believes Carly is being systematically exploited. Brennan is not only manipulating Carly's emotions but also slowly driving her away from the people who truly love her and want the best for her. Jason knows that if Carly continues to deny the truth, continues to get lost in Brennan's sweet words, what awaits her is not love, but disaster. And the next shock may not just be a warning, it could be an irreparable loss. Jason also knows he can't stay by Carly's side forever to shield her from every fall. But even so, he will stand there, trying to speak the truth, trying to awaken Carly's reasoning before it's too late. Because in Jason's heart, Carly will always be the one he's willing to sacrifice to protect, even if she doesn't need him, or even want him. But Jason also knows that at some point, when everything is revealed, when Brennan's mask falls off and Carly realizes the truth, she might come back, regret not listening to him sooner. And whether Jason is still there or not, the words he once said will still echo in her mind: "You'll regret letting Brennan into your life." Jason is entering the most decisive phase yet in his relationship with Carly. No longer offering gentle warnings or silently observing from afar, Jason is now forcing Carly to face an ultimatum. He demands that she choose the path she truly believes in, either stand with him to fight against the underground force that is gradually invading her life, or continue to drown in her toxic relationship with Brennan, where sweet words mask dark schemes. Deep down, Jason doesn't want to force Carly, but he knows time is running out. What's happening isn't just a complicated emotional conflict, it's a real battle, a battle between darkness and light, between life and the cost of blindness. And Carly, whether she wants to or not, is at the very center of this storm. Brennan is not just an erratic or ambitious man. He embodies a network of power lurking behind political games, espionage, and manipulation. And Carly, with all her conflicting emotions, is unknowingly becoming a part of his plan. Jason senses clearly that things are slipping beyond control. One of the most alarming changes in the current situation is the change within him. From someone who always stood by, observing and waiting, Jason is now the one taking action, confronting, and demanding that Carly choose. This is a huge shift in him, no longer the patient man, but one driven by worry and unchanging feelings for Carly. This change comes from a new complication Jason has discovered. Brennan seems to be not only involved in underground activities with WSB but also closely connected to an international weapons trafficking group that's using charity organizations to launder money. The terrifying part is that Carly, who is the figurehead for several community funds in Port Charles, may be being used to hide the illegal funds she is unaware of. If this comes to light, it won't just ruin Carly's reputation, it will drag Jocelyn, Donna, and all those close to her into an investigation. Jason can't let that happen. And so, he begins to prepare for a direct confrontation with Brennan. But he knows one thing: he can't do it alone. He needs Carly to stay sharp, to be ready to cooperate, and most importantly, to stand with him, not just with trust, but with action. That's why he presents her with a choice. He demands that Carly step away from Brennan, break free from his influence, and join him in exposing the truth. At first, Carly reacts as she always does, with anger, accusing Jason of trying to control her life. She says he has no right to make her choose, that her heart is the one that should speak. But this time, Jason doesn't back down. He looks her straight in the eye and says that this is no longer about emotions. This is a matter of survival. This is about honor, the safety of an entire family. And if Carly doesn't wake up soon, she will lose, and not just him, but perhaps everything. One of the most noticeable changes in Jason now is his newfound firmness. He is no longer the gentleman willing to endure hurt for the sake of peace. He's become the leader, the trailblazer, standing at the crossroads between truth and darkness, urging Carly to take the right side. The more he digs, the more Jason realizes that Brennan is a full-blown threat, not only to Carly, but to all of Port Charles. And if Carly continues to turn a blind eye, it might be too late for her to turn back. Carly begins to waver. What Jason is saying makes sense. She feels the shift in Brennan, the cold distance in his eyes, the secret phone calls, and the awkward silences when she asks about his real job. Her pride remains, but deep down, Carly starts to feel afraid. Jason, with his clear and decisive changes, has planted a seed of doubt in her mind, that maybe, just maybe, Jason is the one who's truly trying to save her. And Brennan, maybe he was never someone she could trust completely. The story isn't over yet, but one thing is clear, Carly is at a crossroads, and this time, she can't walk both paths. She has to choose, and that choice will determine not just her fate, but the fate of everyone she loves. Jason is ready to fight. The question is Carly ready to fight with him, or will she continue to gamble everything on a man hiding a storm behind his smile? Carly is going through the darkest days since Brennan entered her life. Every emotion she feels now is chaotic, digging deep into old wounds that haven't healed and even cutting deeper. She has allowed herself to trust again, to let her heart soften once more, hoping that Brennan could be the fresh start she deserved. After so many hurts in love, after so many losses, Carly never expected she could feel again. And when Brennan came along, with his calm demeanor, mystery, and a bit of alluring charm, Carly let her heart open, gently, but with full trust. But Jason, who always stood behind her, watching her every step quietly but warily, couldn't stay silent anymore. He appeared not as the man who once loved Carly, but as the one who saw her standing on the edge of disaster. Jason brought with him information that made Carly feel as though all the air was being sucked from her lungs. What he said were not vague guesses, but concrete proof of Brennan's activities, a man who not only had a dark past with WSB, but might also be using Carly to cover up sinister plans involving international organizations, arms smuggling, and money laundering through backed-up charity projects. Carly is stunned into silence. The love she had just begun to feel, the intimate moments, the sweet promises, and the warm nights with Brennan, now all cast shadows by a brutal truth: she may just be a pawn. Jason doesn't come with anger. He comes with eyes full of pain and a voice trembling with worry. He doesn't blame Carly for loving Brennan, he only fears that she may not have enough time to turn back before everything goes too far. And that fear makes Carly feel even more devastated. She's not only hurt that Brennan may have betrayed her, but also hurt that Jason, the one who's always been her anchor, now has to play the role of the one delivering the final blow to wake her up. One of the greatest burdens suffocating Carly's heart right now is her complete sense of disorientation. She doesn't know who to believe anymore. Everything is happening too fast. The love with Brennan, a love that had just sparked, making her feel alive again, has now been brutally denied. Carly begins to feel disgusted by her own decisions. She wonders, has she been so desperate for happiness that she's willing to ignore her instincts, which have always been right? Has she willingly stepped into a golden cage, where Brennan uses love as chains? Jason is still there, not leaving. He doesn't force Carly to choose immediately, but he doesn't hide the fact that things are becoming more dangerous. The new information he has about illegal dealings, about Brennan's connection to espionage activities, makes it impossible for him to sit still. Jason demands Carly make a choice: continue to protect the man she believes loves her, or step toward the truth, no matter how painful that truth might be. And for the first time in a long while, Carly feels cornered, not because of Jason's control, but because her heart no longer knows what's right or wrong. The explosion inside Carly's mind is unlike anything she's ever felt. Love, fear, betrayal, and guilt are crashing together in her thoughts. Every time Jason adds another detail about Brennan, a part of her breaks. But she can't act hastily, can't easily give up the trust she's just built. Even though her heart is bleeding, Carly clings to the small hope that maybe Jason is wrong, maybe Brennan will have a reasonable explanation. But the cold look Jason gives Brennan's silence when asked pressing questions, and the growing distance between them, all of it points to a truth that Carly can no longer deny. She begins to see it clearly, everything is unraveling. No longer are these small doubts, now it's a series of intertwined events, surging toward her, bringing her closer to a storm that will wipe everything away. Carly knows that if she doesn't make a decision now, if she doesn't turn to Jason, if she doesn't stand up against Brennan, the first person to pay the price will be her. And next may be Jocelyn, Donna, and all those she loves. In a world where truth is twisted by power and lies, Carly must choose, continue living in sweet illusions, or step into the bitter reality to save herself and those she loves. Jason is still waiting for her, not as a lover, but as the last person who still holds on to reason and love for her in this chaos. And Carly, between the pain and the obsessions tearing at her mind, knows she can't hesitate any longer. Her heart aches, but this time, she must use reason to survive.